Hi there. Today I'm going to be sewing a green linen skirt. It's going to be inspired by hobbits and fantasy and all that fun stuff, and perfect for summer and spring when the weather's like kind of warm, but maybe you don't want to wear something short, or you know, it should be a good transitional piece for my wardrobe. It's going to be close to full length, really swishy. I'm really excited for the swish. I'm going to be drafting my pattern. It's going to be essentially a series of like 10 rectangles or something like that. And I will walk you through that whole process. So I'm going to be sewing this skirt out of this really fun green linen. It's really soft. I got it from fabricstore.com. I really love this color. And it's going to look a little something like this, hopefully. So here's my crazy pile of rectangles. This is basically my pattern.
It's going to be a pleated skirt that goes around ankle length and has ties in the back as well as button closure. And then it was time to iron my fabric and start making my skirt.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down 40 inches from the top of my fabric, which is here. I've already evened out the top of the linen by pulling a thread and then cutting along that line. That is the same method I'm going to use to cut down here. I'm just going to make a mark on one side, so I only have to measure on one side of the fabric, which is really convenient. And then I'm going to cut, draw a thread, and the next time you see me, I will have one of my skirt panels done. So I've got the first panel cut out, which is 60 by 40 inches, and now I'm going to cut a second panel that is the exact same size, and then I'm going to find the center of it, and I'm going to split it in half lengthwise so that it is the two panels of 30 by 40 each, and those are going to be the back two panels.
So if you're not familiar with this drawing threads thing, basically it's where you make a little cut on the side of the fabric. You especially have to cut it if you're on the selvage, and then you pick one of the threads that is then exposed by that cut and you start pulling it gently. Unfortunately, it did break a number of times, but that's pretty normal. And basically just pull the thread until it comes out of that same side of the fabric. This helps keep your cutting on grain, as well as making it a little bit easier to see where to cut on grain. I actually ended up using my phone as a backlight for this process, just so that I could actually see it because my fabric was really dark. Next, I needed to cut out the interfacing for my waistband out of the same quilting cotton that I was using for my pockets and my lining. Speaking of pockets, here I am marking and cutting my pockets.
I'm doing my pleats so that they are 1.5 inches with 4 total inches of fabric being folded back behind. So it basically ends up, there's a little bit of overlap except in the very front because I didn't want to create any bulk at that point. This is probably not like a normal method of pleating, but I don't really care. Clearly. I do what I want. Except for the, you know, stabbing myself regularly. That, ow, Jesus. Like that.
And then it was time to baste my pleats down.
got some really nice pleats. Pretty even, very clean. Okay, so I just finished pleating the back right panel, 1.5 inch pleats again. I left 1.5 inches in the center that is going to just be nothing, and then on the left side it's going to be where the buttons go. So I just have to base this down. There's quite a bit of fabric jammed back here, and then I will do the left side in the exact same way, and then it is time to move on to the side seams. Okay, so I'm going to take my pocket, pin it so that it is facing towards the, pin it onto the right side of the skirt front, and then I'll be stitching this at 5/8 seam allowance, just like the rest of the skirt. And stitching the pocket in. Okay, so one of my favorite things to do when I'm making skirts is to put a secret in the pockets. Normally that for me means doing something like a fun quilting cotton. I didn't have anything that went with this green though, so I'm gonna do a little bit of machine embroidery in the pocket. I think I'm gonna do this one. They're both leaves, but I really like how this looks. Oh, that must be the backside. So I'm going to do this probably just on this like edge here, about an inch in. Just one line of, I think, little silver leaves. Maybe a couple lines of them, so that it's like little vines. Okay, so the silver thread kept on trying to mutiny on me, so we're doing pale gray instead. So I have done my pocket embroidery on my machine, and we've got some cute little vines. This is the top, I guess I should. So this is actually technically the outside of the pocket, hence all the flappy doos. That's what the inside will look like, minus that thread. Since I've noticed that the front of the pocket doesn't usually show, and I did it on the back of the left pocket, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the back right pocket piece. So next I'm just going to stitch this to the skirt back, and then I'm going to do the right side pockets, and after that I'm going to pin everything together and stitch the side seams.
And here I am just pinning the side seams together. Luckily I don't actually have to finish my side seams because they are all on the selvage. Now I'm just sewing together my side seams and going around the outside edge of the pocket as well. And here I am sewing up my center back seam, leaving a 5.75 inch slit at the top for my button placket.
Okay, and to finish the center back seam, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it open, fold each side in towards the center, and then fold that towards each other so that it's encased, and then just stitch really close to this edge.
I made myself a lining off camera using a pattern that I've actually already done on this channel for my plaid skirt. I'll link that above. And then I pinned the lining to the waistband, and I just need to baste it at this point. Then I attached the buttonhole reinforcement on the left side and pinned and sewed in the placket for the right side.
Okay, so this is my button placket, which is going to go under here. This is the left side that goes over the top. There's the right side that goes underneath. I'm just going to sew a line straight up here, and then this I'm going to cut, and then it'll get attached to the waistband.
My next step was to work on the ties for the back. I just pinned them together along the side and at one end and stitched along that entire thing, clipped the corners, and turned it right side out. And then pressed. Next thing to do was to pin the 3 waistband pieces together. I sandwiched the ties between the pieces on the side seams, pinned it, and stitched it all together. So here I am pinning my waistband to my skirt. It was a little bit tricky and there was a little easing involved, but it actually turned out really good. Then I stitched it down. After that, I hand stitched the inside of the waistband to the inside of the skirt. And then it was time to sew my buttonholes. I did this on the machine using the buttonhole foot. And when I was done with that, clipped them open and stitched on my buttons. After a quick hem on the machine, the skirt was done.